really selling this, aren't I? Hi everyone! If you're new to this channel, very much welcome here. And for my returning viewers, thank you so much for being here. This week I thought, let's talk about YouTube, because there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of stuff out there, like you need to know your click-through rate, you need to look at your back-end analytics all the time. You should not be creating anything unless you've created a thumbnail first and taken 7 days to even think about that thumbnail, and just all of this stuff. If I was to start a YouTube channel again, I would ignore most of the stuff that is very frequently talked about. And it's not because it's not good, it's because I think there are a few things that need to happen first. Because if you start going in with a technical mind and going in for hitting all these metrics and having your focus on things that just start becoming really overwhelming, then I would be overwhelmed too and probably wouldn't even start. Here are the key things that I personally would keep in mind if I was starting this YouTube channel again. Firstly, forget about that perfect goal, forget about the end results, and just focus on enjoying the process of creating. It is incredibly tempting to keep aiming for the shiny awards. Literally, YouTube will give you a shiny award for hitting a certain number of subscribers. You can actually buy a dodgy fake one from Etsy. I didn't realize that until somebody told me, and then I googled, and it is for real. Way to get an ego boost without the... Anyhow, other shiny objects include monetizing your channel, doing brand deals or sponsorships, becoming known or trying to make everything go viral, and the classic shiny, doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, wherever you want. But when first starting out, I think all of those things should be just left to the side and focus on these two things: learning and improving. That is it. And it doesn't matter how slow or how fast you learn or improve, the fact that you're making progress, whether it's from creating something that didn't quite work or didn't quite feel right for you, that's great, because then you go and create something else and see how that feels. There are a lot of skills to learn, not only when you're starting out, but also throughout the entire process, such as filming, lighting, sound quality, editing, writing, researching, finding copyright-free music, graphic design, personal branding, and just figuring out your own style. There's also the part of figuring out what you really want to put out into the world and facing the inevitable criticism that will come your way. And this is something to really embrace, because anyone who is creative and anyone who puts something out into the world is going to face criticism.
If you're going to go in the arena and spend any time in there whatsoever, especially if you've committed to creating in your life, you will get your ass kicked. If courage is a value that we hold, this is a consequence. You can't avoid it. If you're not in the arena also getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback.
While we're touching on something that is a little bit of the negative side, what I have come to realize personally is that people don't criticize you who are doing more than you, who are ahead of you, who has a bigger channel than me, who has more, I guess, the success metrics that we all look at. None of those people have ever said anything. In fact, it's been the opposite. They've been really supportive and really kind, because people who are more established or more experienced, or even starting out themselves, know how hard it is to put yourself out there. Being unkind says more about them than it does about you. It's actually nothing to do with you. And that is sometimes difficult to wrap your head around, but it is so true looking back in hindsight. So I recommend keeping that little tidbit in mind when you're facing people who are quite jerky. Jerky. Like any avenue, hobby, or job, there are some aspects which you're probably not going to like when you start a YouTube channel. Common tasks in the YouTube world that people generally don't like are editing and filming. A lot of people don't like the filming because they feel it's such a thing to overcome and to even start and press record and start talking. And in terms of the editing, it gets drawn out because for every 10 odd minutes of finished video, it takes about 8 to 13 hours roughly for a video to be created. And you may want to outsource some of that. A lot of people outsource their video editing. I, for 2 years now, have not done outsourcing of my video editing. I just sort of run it all myself, because it's what you see is what you get. Like, this is not a fancy background. I've got a cinematic kind of recording on the phone. That's my fancy. And auto focus, wait. Look at that! Autofocus, I think that's fantastic. Anyway, I sort of nerd out over technology, it's great. But bear in mind, the reality is if you're going to outsource your editing or your content creation in some form, it's going to cost money. But it's not just the money. If I was to start again, I would still do all the things and learn all the skills, even just a basic functional understanding of everything. And it helps because firstly, you learn what you enjoy doing. You may actually realize, I like editing, I like writing, I actually like filming more than anything else. I like actually putting music to things. As you do it, you figure out what you like. And secondly, by figuring out all those little skills, it starts building and giving you the language that if you do outsource to somebody, then you're able to explain what kind of things and processes are needed and what you're looking for. You basically have the language and the understanding to articulate what you need assistance with precision. I've found that a big killer of YouTube, I've kind of done this in one way, is if you build yourself into a process that you hate. You really have to stop caring about the performance of your videos when you first start out and just get used to getting your foot in the door and getting comfortable with creating and trying something new and experimenting, focusing on your message and figuring out how you can be your most authentic in front of this like weird piece of plastic that's literally staring at you, and you've got to feel like you're speaking to real people. So I imagine everybody in my community who's left comments, and I think about your faces as I'm talking to you right now. This is literally how I speak to anybody in person. I'm sure people who know me who are watching right now will verify that. I don't change in front of the camera and outside the camera. What you see here is what you get in real life. So a huge part is don't build yourself into a process of creating videos that you hate. If you show up authentically, then you don't have to put any masks on every time you make a video. You don't have to go, oh, I've got to be that persona and that thing, and it creates this weight and then it demotivates you and so much effort, and then you don't want to end up filming anything. I have found something very helpful, which is what is a message that I can share with somebody from my own experience that I think is worth sharing to anyone who wants to hear. That way you find the process of creating videos a lot more fulfilling. It comes from within, and there's a good chance that you will discover that you're not alone in your experience. I found that a lot of the process is about finding your joy, and finding your joy again when you're still going with your channel, because it's a bit like that. If anyone's watched that movie Inside Out 2, there's a real moment there where there's a message about adults losing their sense of joy, and children seem to naturally have it. Finding ways to bring back joy in your life, I think bringing that to the channel is really important. Whether you find it joyful to generate ideas for your channel, or thinking of funny or inappropriate comedy sketches and filming them, or maybe you've stumbled across another person who's creating videos and that inspires you, then do that. Do whatever it is that fuels up your tank, and then go and create videos. Learn your balance of creating videos because it's what you want to do and creating something helpful for others. There's a really interesting point that you get to in your content creation journey where you realize you either treat YouTube as a hobby or you treat it as a business. As a hobby, you get to create whenever you want. There's no schedule that you stick to. You just create when you feel inspired. You create content on whatever you want. When it's a hobby, it's really about what you want to do with your channel and your art and your creative process, usually irrespective of your audience or the feedback that you're getting, if any. You can take a break for months on end. You don't really care whether your views go up or go down because you're not aiming for the metrics that run a business. Whereas if you treat YouTube as a business, you really take all that feedback and all the analytics seriously. And that normally you have a frequency of posting videos. For example, it could be once a week, once a month, twice a month. You consider your topics with additional factors in mind. So you may be hyper interested in the outside colors of a butterfly's wings. I mean, it's probably a very niche audience for that who'd be very interested, but if you created 100 videos on that, I don't think that's seriously going to have a huge audience if you're going to treat it as a business. Oh, I could be wrong. Maybe you could sell like butterfly wing products from that. I have no idea where I'm going with this, but you get the idea. When you're treating it as a business, you're also paying a lot of attention to what your audience is responding to, what people are saying, whether there are a lot of views and people want to see more of the content that you're creating. Those interesting insights on your back end. You get to see the average age of your viewer, where they're from in the world, what time of day they watch. Yeah, it's kind of stalkerish. It's really weird. Like, it's easy to get sucked into the vortex of your back end and looking at how do I become better next time? And this is why I'm steering. If I was to start again and anyone's looking at starting, I would steer away from all of that stuff. Leave the mental breakdown for later. And of course, with business, usually monetizing, making money from your work is part of the strategy. So you need to pay attention to very specific things. But I will say that even if you do have a business approach to it, it doesn't mean you lose your heart in the whole creative process. I don't understand how you can only care about the numbers. I'm always about How is this helping people? Because shocking stuff sells. We know that the negatives will sell videos. The negatives, the clicky, like the dramatic, the painful, if you had a topic, say for the example, the topic is dogs, and you had one topic saying how to treat your dog well, and you had another video saying 10 things to never ever do that are horrific for dogs. I can guarantee the video that gets all the clicks will be the negative one about all the things you should never do to a dog. Like, it's just, our brains are interestingly wired. And being super mindful of which path you're going to go down, even if it's for business. What are you putting out there? What's the message that you're giving? But maybe I'm just becoming hyper vigilant about that, because what we say, how we behave to each other is powerful and it impacts us. So anyway, I will go on a whole. I'm doing a bit of a hybrid. So I do have a loose business structure, as in, yes, monetization is great to be able to help with paying and upgrading, and maybe in future hiring somebody to help out. And I find that the shiny stuff follows as a natural consequence. I found the balance can be struck if each time you go to create a video or think of an idea, you ask a few questions. Am I creating this or speaking to a person who cares about what I have to say and really wants to learn? And by creating this video, am I in service to that person? Not to my ego, not to the algorithm, being in service to even that one person who took a chance on clicking on my video. If there is a chance that they will have a life-changing moment or a thought that comes to them from watching my video, or they've taken one thing that I've said and they've taken action on it and it has improved their life, there is no better feeling. Stuff the shiny awards. Helping somebody else helps you too, and you don't feel so alone. You feel actually connected. You have to enjoy being of service, being in a growth mindset where it's not just about you, it's about what you're putting out there, and being open to receiving constructive feedback, because it is a heck of a long run. There are no shortcuts. And finally, be a generalist. I know it's very popular and it went around quite a fair bit over the last decade of being a specialist, niching down. Find your niche. Riches in the niches. Am I saying that word right? I always said niche. Some people say niche. Riches to the niches. Part of my brain is like, you must look that up. I'll look it up later. I recommend you don't get specific in all of your video creations, that you create topics, firstly, that inspire you, that you're passionate about, because the enjoyment comes through. And like all of us, like I am, most people are interested in more than one thing. So create something on all the things that light you up. Create content on a range of subjects. That way you not only learn what is sustainable for you, because you need to create a lot of videos for your channel. It keeps you engaged and it keeps you engaging. I definitely believe that the future of information and education is going to be decentralized, meaning it's not just going to be through this archaic educational school system. And as more and more people find the traditional ways of education are just failing us, we are looking to online content creators. And I think this space is just getting bigger and bigger. So show up, we need you. You have a unique perspective, even if it's on the same subject as look at me, walking, laying on a spiky mat. These aren't topics that haven't been done before, but it's the way you do them. It's what you add to it. It's maybe the jokes you say on the side. It's your perspective. You're the only version of you. So you're the only person who can tell your story. And it's not an aged out category. So as you get older in life, it actually gets better because you have new perspectives, you have new skills, new knowledge, new ways to contribute. You become more relaxed because you just don't care about all those other things anymore so much, and you just keep having more and more things to be able to add to your videos. In my journey so far on YouTube, I have found that YouTube is definitely a space where it's never too old to start. You start with 0 skills and you learn as you go. It's actually really fun to watch your earlier videos because you realize, oh wow, like equipment, everything. It's just this one continual learning curve. I hope this video has answered some of your questions that you might have had. If you have just started your channel or are about to, then celebrate that. I will be very happy for you and I'll be cheering for you. Feel free to leave a comment if you've just started a channel, and maybe share something or a topic that you're interested about, and you'll find that there's probably going to be a lot of other people who see that and might be interested in your channel as well. Hope you're keeping well. Thank you for watching and have an awesome week.